Hey guys, my name's Jimmy at Palette of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to yet another Warhammer Age of Sigmar video. As you can see, we've got some Myrmourn Banshees in frame just right now. This is a quick video over how I achieve the look that you can see before you for these models. As always, if you like the video, if you like the content that you get to see from me, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends and all that good stuff, and let's just crack on, shall we? So, I started off with a Corax white base coat. Over this, what I've done is applied a very liberal layer of Nillikai oxide. This gives it that blue kind of ethereal look that you're going to be going for. Just make sure you get into all them gaps, cracks, all the little holes and everything like that that the model has all over it, just to give it a fairly even spread as you go. Right, so once that layer's done, dry brush over some Corax white or white scar or anything like that, just to dilute that white, just to kind of spread it, kind of break it up, break up that Nillikai oxide, should I say, not white, and that'll give it more of a kind of ghostly, aperture-ish look. You want it to make it look haunting, so you could use things like apothecary white if you really wanted to over the whole look, and then dry brush over white again. What I'm doing here is I'm just covering that corset in another layer of white to make sure it's crisp and very light. I'm not going inside the model, as you can tell, because I want it to have that blue hue inside. I'm also doing a fair few strips to kind of make sure that there's like an edge highlight essentially to some of the models, and some where the dry brushing is as well, just to kind of smooth it over, make sure that white kind of stands out and is a bit more crisp. Right, so now that white's dry, all I'm doing here is I'm applying some Blood Angels red contrast paint. This is just a time saver, in all honesty. I love contrast paints for this. You can just apply a layer on over Corax white, leave it to dry, it will shade everything and it will highlight the edges as well as you've kind of done it. It makes life, as I say, a whole lot easier for doing things like that. It means no real edge highlighting, no shading, which is good stuff. Right, so now that that's drying, all I'm doing here is applying some Iron Breaker to that dagger that the Myrmourn Banshees are carrying. Make sure you get that metallic look on the weapon. As it's a white paint, as I've said before, it can be an absolute nightmare to get the silver to take properly. I think in this one I've been quite lucky. It's taken quite well to begin with, probably a little bit better than I thought it was going to, in all honesty, so I didn't have to apply too many coats to any of this. Make sure you're doing them iron railings and fencing that's part of the model and the look of the model just down below. Also, to do a little bit more of a highlight and a bit more of a detail, I'm applying some Glenhelder's gold to the pommel of the dagger. You could use, if you wanted to, use more Iron Breaker. Also to the little scabbard for the dagger as well, just to give it a bit more of a nicer look. Now that that's drying, all I'm doing here is I'm applying some dryad bark to that tree stump that's part of the modelled base. Now, sculpted base that's at the bottom of the model, it is part of the model, so you do need to be careful when applying it and make sure you're not getting it all over the actual robes and the ghostly robes that she's got. What about Dryad Bark? Because Dryad, well, I added some Mechanica Standard Grey to the bottom of that fence kind of wall. This is just to match the base that I'd already painted up and already kind of got the look that I wanted to go for with it, which is fairly simple. And just included Mechanica Standard Grey as a base coat for the entire lot, using Dryad Bark on tree stumps and branches and vines, a bit of corn red and Wazdaka red for the roses that are along the floor, and some good old yellow paint, some like Everland Sunset for the dry leaves with a shade of Seraphim Sepia. Also, I added some corn red to that scabbard for that dagger that she's carrying as well. There's only one model out of the 4 Myrmourns that actually has that scabbard, so it's not too bad. It's not something you necessarily need to do and concentrate too much on. Then, once all of that are dried, I applied some Myrmourn oil to the metallic parts and to that scabbard itself. This gives it a bit more shading, gives it a bit more life, makes it look a little bit more aged as well. If you wanted to, you could use different shades, or you could use the Nilic Oxide to make it a bit more ethereal, a bit more rustic, and a bit more rusty looking as well. What happened then is I dry brushed over some Gorfor brown over the tree stump, then layered over some of the Gorfor brown over them vines that are wrapping around the fencing as well, to as I say, it's all to match the look of what I've already got for the base that I'd already painted. Then I added some Storm Vermin fur to break up the lines of the wall sections underneath our fences at the base of the model. This is because doing it the way I've done it is increasingly hard to dry brush in them little small sections without destroying the rest of the model. And then lastly, what I added was some good old Administratum Grey to highlight the edges. Very light dry brushing as and where I could, and as you can see, majority of that base is already painted up to match the rest of the model, and that is pretty much it. Right, thank you for watching, guys. I say it was a quick video, it wasn't as in depth as probably first thought. If you've liked the video though, please hit the links on the screen, subscribe to the channel in the middle of the screen right now, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye now.